good afternoon, depending on when you're joining us from. Good evening, maybe, for those of you who are abroad. So it is May. It is officially the beginning, the kickoff of summer-ish. I guess kids are out of school. Graduations are happening. So first of all, congratulations to the class of 2024, whether it be the high school class, college, a post grad class. There's lots going on today, which is really kind of the inspiration of today's roundtable. So I am Precious Norman Walton. I'm the agent program manager, excuse me, for NAAIA National, and I will be moderating our session today. So today, again, in the theme of graduations often come with the question, what's next? And so today's roundtable is really to focus on some of the amazing opportunities that await these graduates and early career individuals in the risk management insurance industry. So I want to introduce our first guest, Ms. Amber Johnson. Amber Johnson is a RMI graduate from Georgia State. I'll let her tell her story here when we get started. Good morning, Amber. Looking lovely as always. And then I'll also have Ms. Kelsey Hayes joining us as well. And so Kelsey is a graduate from the Katie School of Insurance, which is Illinois State University. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I say morning, and I kind of alluded to it, Kelsey, right? Because you shared with us that you are actually joining us. Well, I'll let you jump into introduction. So if you can share again, name, who you work with, and we'll get the conversation started. And where you joining us from?
Thanks, Precious. So as she hinted, I'm joining in from London. I currently am in the International Graduate Trainee Program with Munich, and I've been with them since graduating in May of 2022.
Fantastic. Amber.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Johnson. I am a client advisor at Marsh and have been with the company for 3 years. I graduated Georgia State University in 2019 and super excited to be here this morning.
Thank you. And may I also mention that both of these young ladies are also NAAIA members. So thank you so much for being part of the NAAIA family, for being here and willing to share your experiences, your knowledge and insight, especially as it pertains to the risk management insurance degree track, at the universities that you graduated from. So just to get started, I guess from a background perspective, Kelsey, if you can kind of share, I know that we talked a little bit earlier about how you pivoted to the RMI program. So if you can kind of give us a little bit of background and talk a little bit about your education experience.
Yeah, of course. So when I began attending Illinois State University, I decided to pursue a degree in finance. I kind of was anticipating to go into wealth management. And then right before my sophomore year, I was picking classes. And it was with a student advisor at the time. And she saw my major was finance and she said, "Oh, you should double in risk management and insurance. It's only 4 extra classes." And I was like, I never thought about going into an insurance, but like, what would it hurt? It's only 4 extra classes. So I decided to pursue a double major in finance and RMI. And then when it came to seeking out internships, I kept dealing with a lot of rejection. And something in me said, "Kelsey, you should look into some insurance companies." So that's kind of how I found Munich Re, and I became a summer leadership development intern my junior year. And then I got an offer for the graduate trainee program. And of course, I accepted. And then right before starting that, I also had an internship with them again with their direct property team. So I've loved insurance since, and I've loved Munich Re since.
Loved insurance. You hear that, guys? It is possible to decide to enter the industry. And I love what you shared about finding some pushback and some friction with your first choice, as far as pursuing the finance internships, but finding a home within the industry. So it was their loss and our gain for sure. I appreciate you sharing that. So Amber, how did you decide that risk management insurance was kind of the path that you wanted to take?
Yeah, so honestly, similar situation to Kelsey. I wanted to be a corporate lawyer initially. So when I went to Georgia State University, I was really wanting to pursue a pre-law program. At the time, they didn't have one. And, for me, I'm very futuristic. So I wanted to make sure I had a plan. So I talked to an academic advisor. And after talking with me for about 10 minutes, they suggested risk management and insurance. At Georgia State, you really don't get into your risk and insurance courses until junior year. So for me, I was still a little bit on the fence. But what really solidified my decision was the NAAIA student case competition that I participated in. And this would have been 2017 or 2018 in Atlanta. So just kind of seeing all of the professionals of color, men and women, in one place, that was just really, really inspiring to me, and a primary reason that I wanted to stay with my major.
That is impressive. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's yet confirmation, right? That what we do matters. People are watching and decisions are being made. So thinking again about those decisions, as I mentioned in the intro, this is graduation season. A lot of people come out of school. Some of them have their 5, 10 year plan already built out. Some people are just thankful that they graduated. And, the summer is usually that lull before the fall, the reality of the fall. Like, what am I doing moving forward? So what advice would you have for someone who is just starting their college journey? As you mentioned, Amber, oftentimes you declare a major or get into your major specific coursework a little bit later in the degree program. So the first, year and two is usually your typical English, math, those sort of things. So for someone coming in, considering a path, what advice would you have?
Yeah, I would definitely say get to know your department head, or those representatives at whatever university that you're at, because they're going to have access to a plethora of opportunities and information, whether that is opportunities with scholarships or internships. So the department kind of head is the one who told me about the NAIA student case competition, which is what kind of streamlined and started my career, I feel, in a sense. So the next step that I would recommend is getting to know other students in the program, because as you enter into the insurance industry, those folks are going to be the ones that you're going to be working with. The industry is so small, and someone that I competed in the case competition with, we are at the same company now. And so, use your resources, your peers. And then I would also recommend getting a mentor who has been in the industry and can provide some insights with you as you start your journey.
Awesome. Kelsey, same question.
I second everything that Amber just mentioned. But honestly, if I could go back in time, I would tell myself to stay open minded, because I kind of thought of my pivot as a domino effect. If I would have never taken what that student advisor have told me and kind of ran with it, then I wouldn't be in the position that I am today. So I think, besides everything Amber said, definitely stay open minded, and know it's okay to change your mind.
I love that. And so, we're bringing this conversation here specifically to the agent roundtable to talk about really what the RMI program equipped you with. What are the kinds of things that you learned in that program, and how much of that has proven applicable, so far to your day to day. So, Amber, I'll start with you with asking you. I jokingly told people that when I went into catastrophe claims, it was the first time I'd actually got paid for using the Pythagorean theorem. I was like, see, it matters, right? So how much of your coursework do you feel you've encountered and has benefited you in your position?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I studied quantitative analysis or risk modeling. So Georgia State has two different tracks. They have your traditional insurance track, and then your quant analysis that is more kind of geared towards like actuarial science. So, you know, Honestly, and I'm in management liability now, so not much of the work that I studied in college is one that I'm using in my day to day, but it did help me better assess risk kind of transfer solutions for my clients, and understanding that kind of overall picture when I'm working with a client, whether new or one that I've been working with for quite some time. But, being a specialty kind of advisor, focusing on like D&O, EPL fiduciary, it's not something that at the time at Georgia State we really kind of focused in on. I do think it's probably evolved in recent kind of years. So current students may be engaging more with that work, but it's just not one that I did.
And that's fair because I would definitely say that insurance is such a diversified field that this was really, the programs are kind of your starting ground, and then you'll branch off, of course, and continue to develop. So, Kelsey, same question to you. Do you feel like the things that you studied kind of prepared you for the role that you're in now?
Definitely. So a lot of companies offer graduate trainee programs and they're rotational. So I always like to think that my RMI degree developed the foundation that I kind of needed to rotate throughout various teams. So I kind of ended up in a lucky position at Munich where I wasn't assigned a team right away. I kind of got to rotate through different groups and see what line I enjoyed the most. And it was just completely a coincidence, but I'm going into commercial D&O underwriting. And that involves the use of my finance degree analyzing 10K. So at the end of the day, I felt like me going into that line is a healthy medium. I get to utilize both sides of my degree without feeling overwhelmed.
That's awesome. And so both of you, in addition to your RMI degrees, pursued and have attained insurance designations beyond the degree. So I'll go back to Amber. So you completed your Associates of Risk Management, the ARM designation. Did you feel that having that RMI background assisted with solidifying that program?
Yes, it really did. It helped substantially when I obtained my ARM. A lot of the concepts were ones that were very familiar to me. So I was able to, get that designation relatively quickly. And then right now I'm focused on obtaining my RPLU, the Registered Professional Liability Underwriting Designation. And even with the ARM and some of the kind of courses in school, I can kind of pull from that while I'm working through that designation as well.
Awesome. Kelsey?
Yeah, so I obtained my CPCU this past December. Yes, thank you. And same goes for the role that I'm in now. A lot of the courses I took in college ended up being transferable into that CPCU designation. So I was able to get, I believe, 2 exams waived. And then as far as the actual material, it was a bit of a refresher because I had learned it in a course maybe a few months ago. And then also pursuing my RPLU in a bit. And I noticed even there, my RMI degree allows me to get, I believe, 2 exams waived. So definitely a lot of transferable skills there.
So with the questions and of course as all of our participants are gathered around the table listening to you, both of you are extremely articulate and bright young women. And so I want to talk a little bit about the importance, and someone mentioned it earlier, of that connection, the camaraderie. Amber, you talked about participating in the NAAIA program back in what you said 2017 around that time. So Kelsey. So I remember the story of when I first met you at a conference, and I shared my perspective of meeting you there. If you could kind of just share with the audience here a little bit about the conference that you attended and how we connected early on.
Definitely. I think it's a great story too, Precious. But my senior year of college, I was able to go to the Inter-Risk conference in Orlando. So I'm walking through to a different session and I see a group of Black women just sitting and talking. And this was kind of my first exposure to the industry. And I knew that there weren't a lot of us around, but I was like, I see the group of women, like, I need to go talk to them. So I kid you all not, I literally like walked over to Precious and her group of, and I was like, excuse me, I just have to say hello. Like I just came into this industry and I haven't seen a group of Black women like this. So I just need to introduce myself. So definitely it goes with putting yourself out there. Like you're gonna be put in situations where you have no choice but to put yourself out there. And I think that was the first moment where I really had to do it in the insurance industry.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because we are still very much underrepresented. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone here. So Amber, I know when you and I first met in person, we were sitting on a panel together at an event for NAAIA DFW. Shout out to the Dallas chapter for NAAIA. So how has kind of getting outside of your comfort zone and networking benefited your overall insurance experience?
Yeah, it's played a substantial role. When I moved from Atlanta, so my family, I'm from Oklahoma, and I wanted to be as close to my family as possible. So I moved from Atlanta, and Dallas just seemed like a really great location to be able to start my career. The first thing I did was reach out to the NAAIA DFW chapter and just let them know that I was an early career professional. I don't have a position lined up yet, but I'm eager to be a part of the Dallas Fort Worth chapter just because of my experience when I was a student. And they were fantastic. They provided so much support and advice to me as I was going through that process. There are so many core individuals who really just, reached out and lended a hand and advice during that time for me. And that's why I'm with the employer that I'm with today. Marsh has a training program as well, but I entered into the company in a very non-traditional way, just through my, connections that I developed through the Dallas Fort Worth chapter. So it's through that and kind of putting myself out there that, allowed me to get to where I am today.
Awesome. And I know Kelsey just recently joined our Chicago chapter. She was a featured member, as a matter of fact, just a little bit ago on LinkedIn and otherwise. How has that experience been so far? Have you been able to attend any of the events, connect with the other members in Chicago?
Yes, definitely. So before my membership, I was able to go on their annual boat cruise, which is a sneaker ball. And I met some fellow Illinois State graduates, but that was honestly the first time I have ever been in a room full of African American insurance professionals. And when I say I felt like I could be myself, it's really rare that I go to events and I feel like I can kind of take the code switching out, but there, I felt like I could talk how I always talk. They would kind of get where I was coming from. And it was really refreshing. So when I learned that I could have a corporate membership through my company, I was like, sign me up, please sign me up right now. So honestly, yeah, it's just been super refreshing meeting people just like me, like-minded, same color as me. I love it so much.
Awesome. Well, we're super glad that you had an amazing first experience. Look, the national conference is going to be that plus more. So excited about the magic that's going to happen down in New Orleans later this year. So want to change the conversation just a little bit. So from when we think about agents, oftentimes the first thing that comes to mind are like independent agents, agency owners, and that for the most part, that's a big part of the NAIA agency community. But when I consider those that are in client facing roles, whether you're an advisor, whether you are a service manager, it really boils down to the same thing. And in essence, with our underwriting community, it's pretty much the same thing, but the agents become your clients versus the insureds, right? And so taking all of this wealth of information, all of this education that the both of you have, how has that impacted your ability to give feedback or explain to either insureds or agents, transactional things. So for example, as an agent, we enter submissions all the time, and there may be some additional information, there may be some, changes in the rating that happened that we now have to go back and explain, to our insureds. And especially in, the lines of business where you ladies specialize, that's not everyday everyday conversations. I think it's different when you talk about home and auto. When you start to get into D&O, EPL, and those executive lines, it can be a mouthful. So to restate the question, how has all of your training and your education helped you be a better advocate for either the insureds if you're customer facing, or for your agents if you're on the underwriting side? And we'll toss up whoever wants to jump on that one first.
I can take that one first, Amber. I think that a lot of the time when I took my courses, the material that was so complex was simplified to a level that I, as a student, could understand. So now that I'm in the industry, client facing, it's very easy for me to reiterate the information that was taught to me a few years ago. And then I really find it beneficial to have the real world examples, because I feel like that's when people really understand the concept, especially when you're in a niche line such as commercial D&O.
That makes sense. That's good. Amber, what have you found?
Yeah, I'm just kind of echoing what Kelsey said. It has been pretty beneficial to be able to take some of the designations, coursework, and to utilize it when I'm dealing with clients. What I have found is that every client is so unique, and I could be working with a risk manager as the main point of contact on one account, and on others, I could be working with, the CFO, and it really kind of just depends on the overall kind of size of the account, but that impacts how I approach the renewal. But something that Kelsey said earlier is transferable skills. And that has also played a pivotal role in when I'm working with clients. One of, the main kind of transferable skills is utilizing that kind of hospitality background that I have, to be able to work with my clients and address whatever unique concern they have. And so it's allowed me to pivot in that role. If they want me to be super technical in a presentation, I'm able to do that. But if I'm working with someone who really just wants the basic points, I can pivot to that as well.
Amazing. So I know that early in career, one of the comments that I used to share was that becoming a licensed, educated insurance professional not only helped me in my professional endeavors, but it also made me a more informed consumer. And so I was able to go and do a gut check and kind of figure out, is my house in order, and the things that I needed to do. And so learning about all these different exposures, we mentioned earlier, I think Amber, you said that programs are evolving and risk is constantly evolving. I've been in the industry now for almost 20 years. I'm not quite claiming 20 yet. I'm right there on the cusp. But, some of the things that are more prevalent now, some of the cyber risks and some of the other things, have advanced, dramatically. So when it comes to keeping, iron sharp, and surrounding yourself with other like-minded individuals, I want to talk about mentorship a little bit. And so mentorship specifically within the NAAIA community, it could be formal, it could be informal. If you could, if there was any one particular mentor who was really impactful in your journey, your education journey, your professional journey, that you would like to share some information, about that relationship and what made it impactful, I think that would be really good for existing members even to hear, because sometimes we underestimate the true, impact that we have on those who surround us. So Kelsey, I'll start with you, a mentor that really stood out and what made that mentorship special.
Yes, I have a mentor who works at a Munich Re subsidiary, American Modern, named Erica Malone. And Through these rotations, I meet a lot of people in general. I meet a lot of women. And she was the first Black woman I had in a rotation. And I remember at the end, I had asked for feedback from everyone. I love asking for feedback. And she was the only one who I felt was honest with me and really cared about watching me grow. She wasn't assigned to me as a mentor, but just from that conversation, I said, would you mind being my mentor? Like, I need someone like you in my corner to bring my name up in rooms that I don't have access to quite yet, and who will tell me what I need to hear and not sugarcoat it. So those are two qualities that I love to have in all of my mentors that I seek out.
That's amazing. Amber?
It's tough. I have quite recently I've tried to have mentors for different things. So I'm building this personal board of directors. So there are many fantastic, experienced individuals who have played a core role in my career thus far. But I will talk about my relationship with Anisha Goldsmith, who is my mentor in Plus. So I'm a part of the 2024 Leadership and Mentoring cohort with Plus, and they pair us with an established kind of mentor in the industry. I have really, really enjoyed my time with Anisha as my mentor because I feel like we can talk about anything and just talk about, from a holistic perspective. We're not just kind of hyper focused on work. We're also talking about, as I'm kind of growing and evolving in life, I am the first of my family to be a part of corporate America. And so just kind of navigating that. And it's really been super impactful to be able to have someone in my corner that I can talk to kind of anything about.
Amazing. And I love that, of course, that personal board of directors having various people as you continue to evolve and your needs change, just like exposures change and those connections. So, being in a position now, even though both of you, I'd still classify as earlier in career, definitely want to encourage you that you have so much wealth and knowledge to share as well. That, mentorship has nothing to do with age and has everything to do with what you can impart into someone. So just want to encourage you in your local chapters as well. If there's a need for mentors, both of you are definitely, strong candidates for that. So just want to remind those who are participating in this conversation, again, we're talking about flying high with RMI degrees. And the Q&A is open. So if you have any questions for our participants, feel free to jump in there. We'll just kind of move them in as we go along. There's no set Q&A time per se. So I want to talk a little bit about, again, as you're in your career and you are looking around, during your college experience, were either of you active with your Gamma Iota Sigma chapters that were present at your school? And did you find that there were a lot of other African American students in that program, or kind of what was, each campus is different, of course. And so Gamma Iota Sigma is the risk management insurance educational fraternity that's available at some of these schools. So Amber, I'll ask you first about your GIS experience. Were you part of GIS?
Yeah, so I was part of GIS, and I enjoyed the organization because they did a great job with bringing in different companies to speak with us. They also kind of played a role in facilitating internship opportunities with students as well. But I was also a part of Alpha Kappa Psi Professional Business Fraternity on the campus of Georgia State. So it was a broader organization that focused on, I think, business as a whole. But it was through that I was able to participate from a risk management perspective. So I served as the VP of risk management for the chapter.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing feather in your cap right out the gate.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a great experience. And then, when you're interviewing for internships or positions, you can pull on some of that experience that you were able to kind of go through in college.
That's amazing. And so as the summertime is getting ready to, I think some people already have kind of checked out mentally as far as summer goes. Um, do you have any ongoing plans as far as like future educational aspirations, or are you just kind of focusing on, what's on your desk right now, Amber? I'll go with you. I know Kelsey's got to grab her charger here real quick.
Yeah, and I'm in Dallas, so I know that we talked about before. It is so hot, so I'm gonna just be inside. But right now I'm focusing on obtaining my RPLU. The goal is to get that done within the next quarter or so, and then I'm always someone who really wants to continue my educational journey. So after I wrap up the RPLU, I'd love to go back to school to get my MBA. So just working on, the logistics of that.
Awesome. Kelsey, I don't know if you caught that question as far as ongoing pursuits. I know you're settling into, your role currently, but what's next on your plate as far as again, another designation, another degree? What's up next for you? Oh, I can't hear you. Was that just me? Is the audio, were you able to hear her just now? Oh no, have we lost your audio?
Can you hear me okay now?
There we go. Hello, we're back.
Sorry, I'm in a big workspace now, so I have to put some headphones in. But I caught Amber saying she's pursuing her RPLU. Same. Ever since I fell in love with financial and professional lines and decided I wanted to pursue commercial D&O underwriting, I decided it'd be best for me to pursue my RPLU. So that's the next for me. And then also, if I ever decide to switch more into the finance side, I would love to go back to school to get my MBA.
Fantastic. So final official question, and we'll check again with the audience to see if they have any questions for you as well. During your career pursuit, during your educational experience, did either of you work during school, and what kind of employment did you have during college? We'll start
I
with you,
can
Kelsey.
jump in.
Okay.
So I had a few jobs on campus. I was an RA to help pay for my room and board. I worked the front desk in the building I was an RA in to generate some income to pay for my tuition. And then on top of that, I was an intramural sports monitor. So those intramural sports, I ref the games. Those were, and then I worked as a cashier at Menards, which is if you're from the U.S., not the U.S. So I used to be in London now. If you're from the Midwest, then you know what Menards is. It's like Home Depot.
Awesome. Thank you.
And yes, I definitely had to work to get through school. I was an RA as well, so shout out to all the RAs. I was also I did a federal kind of student program where I sat at the front desk for a variety of different departments. And then I was also a peer mentor, which generated some income over the summer. And then the last thing I did was I was a part of this student kind of program on campus, Spotlight Programs Board. And we were in charge of planning and implementing the university-wide events, and that generated income too. So definitely was working.
Awesome. And the reason I bring up kind of working through school is because as we're having a conversation with these two brilliant young ladies, it's just a reminder to those of us who are on the call from a pipeline staffing perspective that college students are also available for work. And so if you have an agency, for example, that has remote opportunities available, asynchronous work where it's not necessarily answering the phones from 9 to 5, with the availability and especially the expertise that they're building, this is one of those moments of transferable skills where, tapping your local colleges and universities may be a great source for sourcing young talent. And then hopefully, even after they finish their degree programs, not all RMI majors go to the carrier side. Several of them are working for agents, learning the ropes so that they can eventually become, the next generation of future Black agents in our industry. And so we don't want to automatically make any assumptions in terms of availability and even interest. I know that a lot of us that, especially if you're a non-traditional student, sometimes it's reversed. Sometimes those students that are studying now started in the industry and are going back to school to pursue additional opportunities. So that's part of the relevance in the conversation of understanding that it's summertime, people are transitioning, whether it's they're graduating and they're getting ready to start school, they're leaving school and they're looking for work, whatever the case is. We always want to keep our feelers out and continue to tell the story in a way that's compelling for others to join us, in this industry where you can do good and do well. So as we begin to wrap, and then again, audience, if you have any questions, we've got a question that just came in fresh off the press, y'all. So it says, reflect on your risk education while at university, knowing what you know now. Is there anything you would add to your college experience to provide additional preparation for success? And Amber, I'll kick it off to you first.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think looking back on it, one thing that I would have done was try to obtain my designation while I was at Georgia State because they provided a reimbursement and kind of financial incentives for that. Now, saying that I didn't come out of pocket, with my current employer because they provide educational enhancement, but that is something that I would have done, differently.
Awesome. Thank you. Kelsey?
If I could go back in time, I think I would have took advantage of every opportunity that the Katie School offered. I know that they allowed us to go to the Inter-Risk conference that I mentioned earlier where I met Precious, but they also had chances to go to RIMS, a lot of seminars in downtown Chicago. And I kept telling myself I'll do it later, it's fine. But if I could go back in time, I definitely would have signed myself up because I think I've met other folks in the graduate trainee program here who definitely did that. And you can see the difference in their network.
Awesome. And speaking of networks, both of these young ladies are present and active on LinkedIn. So if you can take a moment, ladies, to kind of drop your LinkedIn info in the chat, if you will, I encourage that you connect with them, continue to support them, continue to build them up. As you can hear that they are a phenomenal testimony of what I'm feeling more and more confident that we're in good hands in terms of the direction that the industry is going in.
Thank you for watching this flashback episode with NAAIA. We appreciate your time and hope you found the insights valuable. Stay tuned for more enriching content. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the NAAIA community.